Welcome back to Demolition Blacksmithing. So as you could probably tell by the title, we're going to start doing a hammer series. So the first thing we're going to make on the series is the hammer punch and the hammer drift. And that will probably be a two-part series. So here we go. So here's the current hammer drifts that I have. This is probably the nicest one I have. I forged it out of a high carbon stake, and that's all of the drift part, and the rest is handle space, so you can actually hold it. There's lots of handle space, and this is the first drift I actually ever made, and this was out of a piece of not inch stock. It's smaller than that. But that was the first drift I ever made, and so it does not fit completely into the hardy hole, while this one does. And this one I made some fish eyeing, so I had to weld it in here. So on this one I made sure not to do that. But for this project, we're going to forge the punch and our drift out of this sucker rod, and this is basically what they use for drilling wells. And then so yeah, so this is, if it'll load, it's just under an inch. It's on our 7/8 march, so this is 7/8 inch, and that's what I also made that drift out of. So it's plenty of material to make the drift. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 10 inches for each. 10 inches for our punch. Well, actually 8 inches for the punch and 10 inches for the drift. So I'll see you guys once it's cut. So a little change of plan, because if you look in there, that's hollow. It's filled with dirt, sand, mud on there because it's sucker rod, and they push water through as they're drilling to push the stuff out of the way. But so it'll still work for our drift, but we're going to have to grab a piece of that to make our punch. And also on that, just a slight change of plans, I cut 6 inches off of that material for my punch, just because this is not going to be my main use punch, so I don't want to waste as much material on it, because I don't have much of that square stock left. But 10 inches of that, and I have 6 inches of that. So let's get the forge lit and let's start. Change of plans again, because I don't know if you could see in there, but it's barely bubbling now, but it was like super bubbling out of that thing, and it was smelling nasty. So I'm just going to throw the rest of this square stock in and make the drift out of that. And it'll be a really nice drift. So here we go. So what we're going to work on first is this drift. So I'm just going to take the round side of my hammer and start drawing this out. And so also, I didn't say that, but also I'm working on the punch. We just tried to draw it out nice and evenly until we get to about the size of the punch, which I'm going to try to make the size of the punch about the same size as this brittle hole on the anvil. And here, I'll get back to you in a second what the size of the brittle. So the brittle is about 5/8 of an inch in diameter. So that's what my punch is going to be. It's going to be about a 5/8 inch punch. So yeah. I love our blacksmithing area, because right now it's raining. Totally tell, barely, but it's raining. There, you can see in the quench tub. And it is completely dry under here, so. that's where we have the drift at so far. I'm just drawing it out square as far as I can, and then I will start to do the rounding of the drift. So you basically make the drift square. You can make square drifts if you want. You can, but I suggest oval. They're easier to work with. You can even do round holes, but the handle might turn in the hole a little bit. So I mean, it's really all what you want, so it's on your perspective. Same thing on that punch, is I've just drawn it out square. And I've just been trying my best to work it hot, because this material does not move very easily unless it's hot. And you also have the risk of putting structure fractures in it if you don't work it hot, so trade-offs the trade. I also forgot to mention, also I've been making some wedges, and I've just been using some scrap rebar. You just basically form a wedge, and then you put some notches in it with the hot cut hardy, and you just hot cut hardy it off. And then if it's not clean enough on the top, you just take it to the angle grinder and just cut it off clean. And here I'll show a couple of those in a little bit, but here's the time lapse again. So I'm just going to show quickly how I forge out the wedges for the hammer. So grab the tongs for grabbing the rebar. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish out this taper. Bring it to the hardy, and I'm just going to cut it off right about there. Finish up that cut now. There's a wedge. And so then now you can just cut off the top that you don't like, grind some gashes in it so it sticks into the wood better, and there you go. So that's a good one to use in a hammer. So there's the finished piece for this video, because this was a lot of forging, and I am going to go eat lunch and make the second part after lunch. But that was a lot of forging. We have the punch and we have the drift, and they're coming to shape. The punch is probably closer to being done than the drift, but the drift hat is more material to move. So that's the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching Demolition Blacksmithing, and I'll see y'all in the second part of this hammer making video. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
American girls and American guys will always stand up and salute.